Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Study of X, the bi-weekly X-Men podcast where we discuss the Krakoan era of X-Men comics. My name is Tim, and with me, as always, is Chris.
I hope you're ready to talk philosophy, because that's going to be most of this episode.
And Sergio.
I don't know if I would call it philosophy, but it sure is something.
Philosophy, a Twitter post, a Reddit comment.
It is somewhere between those two extremes, yes.
Yeah, Way of X. We got the first two issues of Way of X in cable number 11 this week, and yeah, remember that mutant religion?
We're finally going back to that. Someone is picking up that plot thread and a couple others, and we're finally going to dive into, hey, the mutants can't die. What if that messes people up?
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Awesome. Alright, so we're going to start with Way of X number 1, simply titled Way of X. This came out in April of 2021 and is written by Simon C. Spurrier. He is going to be a new addition to X-Men comics here in the Krakoan era, but he has worked on X-Men comics before. He is a British comic book author and novelist. He's done work for Warhammer 40k's Black Library, and also co-wrote and then took over the Star Wars Dr. Aphra comic book from Kieran Gillen. So he's got something for all three of us here, which is really fun. He's also done work with British science fiction comic magazine 2000 AD. He worked with DC to relaunch Hellblazer, and also wrote some of X-Force back in like 2014, 2015. So he's been around for a little bit.
Yeah. Very
I have to
seasoned,
admit, for a second I kind of had to go back to the cover just to make sure Hickman wasn't involved in this.
Yeah,
I thought there were some like Hickman-esque stuff going on.
There's a lot of I feel like he goes a different direction than I think Hickman was intending, but it does feel very Hickman-esque in places.
Also in terms of like, I mean, I don't know where this is gonna go exactly, but also in terms of like impact on the lore.
This feels impactful to a degree that I don't think a lot of the other books always do.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's a really good way to explain it.
Yeah.
And,
so, yeah.
To give a little bit of context for Way of X, if you haven't read it yet, which I recommend that you do, this is the press release, or part of it, that Marvel put out back when they announced this. And they have it here, it reads, "Mutant kind has built a new Eden, but there are serpents in this garden. Some mutants struggle to fit in, some mutants turn to violence and death, and the children whisper of the patchwork man, singing in their hearts. Only one mutant senses the looming shadows. Snared by questions of death, law, and love, only Nightcrawler can fight for the soul of Krakoa. Only he and the curious crew he assembles, including fan favorites Dr. Nemesis, Pixie, and Blink, can help mutants defeat their inner darkness and find a new way to live."
Also, this is a short one. Worth noting that this is just 5 issues long.
Yes. It doesn't stick around for a while either. We're unfortunately in the period of the Krakoan comics where some of them started a little bit after X of Swords and then just didn't catch on at all. So we do have a couple of shorts.
This one I think is going to be interesting because while I would say like that kind of does fit the vibe of this one, C gets to pick up the plot thread for this one like immediately in another follow-up. So it's 5 issues long. We're not really gonna be done with this in 5 issues though.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. He does get a very rare chance to do that. Technically, Leah Williams also gets to do that for X Factor as well, just a tiny bit, but I do think C gets to do it longer.
Yeah, I would also say C's very clearly more of like, this is a direct follow-up to Way of X, to a degree where there's not a lot I think that we get that are like quite like that. I think Teenie Howard gets some.
Yeah, I would agree.
But yeah, so let's get into it though. Preambles and Brain Farts is our first data page.
Yep, and this is from the Book of Redacted, And we're essentially looking at a fake verse from a religious text. It's more revealed later that this is being written by Nightcrawler, and it's his way of working out what he needs to do for figuring out a religion for Krakoa.
Yeah. And it kind of the big thing here with this page is, he was trying to figure out how this all works. Is making this up as he goes. The kind of big bolded parts here is he hoped to learn what we ought to believe, and instead he learned how we ought to live. We'll see how that unfolds. And it says he learned this at the seminary in Venice was his first lesson, and we cut to not that.
Not that. Almost. We're right there, I promise. Because we're cutting to Xavier, who wakes up from a nightmare where he sees this creature in a red mask call him a betrayer, where after he wakes up, he calls out to Nightcrawler in order to, talk.
Yeah. I had a nightmare, better call my priest friend.
Yeah, even Nightcrawler calls it out and says, people only ask for a priest in the small hours of the evening for either a bad decision or, death.
And, so also the reason Nightcrawler is up is because he is on a mission with some kids.
Yes, yeah. It is him, it is Pixie, DJ, Loa, and Blink. We've seen all of them before. They're kind of some of the reoccurring background kids. But they are all currently skydiving through the air into Venice.
They just dropped from the Fortnite bus.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they're picking a really good location to land. Hopefully they find some good loot when they get there.
Yeah. He tries to have a talk, but Xavier, longingly looking at a picture of his wife and kid with what it looks like a torn out part of him. Like, his face is just missing.
Yeah, there's a lot with this image, and we're actually going to get into it a little bit later, once I can dive more into it. But needless to say, and probably not very shocking, Xavier's a really bad dad.
Yeah. So, Xavier doesn't really want to get into it. Pretty much tells him, oh, it's nothing, just, wishing you good luck. And we cut to the mission. They are in a hate museum.
Yes, and it is a hate museum specifically for mutants and mutant crimes. So there are descriptions.
It is a church-turned-hate museum.
Yes. So you've got some interesting mixes here of both, of religious significance and also, wow, we really hate the mutants. Look at all the bad things they've done.
Yeah.
We have the Dark Phoenix, we have Apocalypse, we have Omega Red and Sabretooth. Some of the bigger evil names to have come out of mutants.
Yeah. I like the dialogue choices here a lot between some of the kids. DJ calls Pixie a Wanda for worrying, which I don't quite understand, but I do think that's interesting that name ended up as a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that's fun, just adding little bits of...
Also, DJ calls it crack at some point instead of Krakoa.
Yeah.
Which,
I don't know how I feel about that one. I tried it. I was like, ooh, I don't know. Krakoa is just very easy to say and kind of fun to say. Crack is very, I don't know. It doesn't fit as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Back on crack. Nah, man, that ain't it.
You know what? He can workshop a couple more.
Yeah. We also have a conversation about Pixie, who hasn't died before.
Yes, and I think this is one of the more interesting through lines of Way of X compared to everything else going on, because the rest of the kids here are essentially going to make fun of her for not having died yet.
Yeah, like, what do you mean? We've all done it.
Yeah.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Yeah. We gotta get some light peer pressure to die.
Then you wanna come out of an egg?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Covered in goo.
Yeah, You get the goo egg. And the little through line here we mentioned is someone tells her, like, oh yeah, it's fine, just think of your favorite food. She doesn't have a favorite food. Her favorite food changes. She really wants a cheese toasty right now, but yesterday she wanted sushi. DJ mentioned something called the Patchwork Man, which Nightcrawler shows up crawling on the wall and inquires about that.
Mm-hmm. Again, a lot of stuff is kind of just going to be thrown to us. It's also, the side effects of being a number 1. We have to get a lot of plot lines set up and ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all of that thrown out. But before we can get into the Patchwork Man or anything else, Nightcrawler does confirm that this place is funded by Orcus. It is currently also training some priests in a room, showing them, like, look, Mystique just killed this guy. Isn't that awful?
Yeah.
Very
somebody spots them. Things go haywire. Nightcrawler tries to stop them, but all the priests run out. And then tells Pixie, expand their horizons. And then we get a data page about the Orcus protocol.
Yep, we've seen this page a couple of times. It keeps getting updated every time a new petal is shown. So for this one, it is highlighted with culture and narrative. We don't see who's in charge of it, but we see that's another avenue that Orcus is using to try and turn the entirety of Earth against mutants.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have we talked about Pixie before?
We haven't, and I do actually have some notes for her here. She's shown up a little bit, but not enough to really warrant kind of a deep dive into her. So she's going to be important, especially in Way of X. So Pixie, also known as Megan Gwynn, she was first introduced in New X-Men number 5 back in 2004. She's born in Wales, and she was raised by her grandparents before developing wings during a near-death experience. She was then sent to the Xavier Institute and joined the Paragon's training squad. She's also one of the very few to retain her powers after M-Day, and therefore was kind of important around that time. Also, as this will be important, when a group of new X-Men were teleported to Limbo, that is where Magic was kept captive for a very long time, and also now where she's in charge of, Pixie's soul was sought after by Belasco as a replacement for a currently dead Magic at the time. He stole a piece of her soul, and as, again, comics are weird, as a evil, soulless Ileana called Darkchild came in, turned that piece of Pixie's soul into a soul dagger. So, basically, Magic's big sword. That's part of her soul.
Yeah.
Pixie has the same thing, but it's a small dagger.
Okay.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
And then the only other fun thing, there's 2 rumors about Pixie that have not been confirmed. One is she's half fairy, and 2, her father might be Jason Wingard, aka Mastermind, aka the guy from Hellions.
Yeah.
But we don't know for sure.
Well, I'm sorry
That's
for
unfortunate.
her.
Yeah.
I am also sorry for her, but it also fits with her powers, which she can make people kind of see these hallucinations and visions that are typically very pleasant, very happy, it sends them into a stupor, which is what we're going to see with the priests here. So changing reality would kind of fit with her dad.
Yeah. Do you have any notes about the other mutants here? I know DJ's new already, but Loa and Blink are pretty not new.
No, not for them, since they kind of
they don't
much.
They don't have much going on here, yeah.
Yeah, they've just kind of come and gone, throughout all of this Krakoa comics, and they really don't take a front seat.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back into it. She sprays the priest with pixie dust, and they are now seeing them as angels. And they chilling now. Unfortunately, somebody comes out with a gas mask. DJ manages to get a force field off, but dude's still out here with a shotgun, and that's not good. So Pixie decides it's time to die.
In a very interesting way, because she's realizing, something that could change their minds is a little guilt. So she walks up to this man with a shotgun and just immediately gets her face blown off.
Yeah, Nightcrawler tries to tell her to stop. The other mutants are excited. DJ films it.
Yeah.
Which, just like, bro, come on, man. And yeah, Nightcrawler immediately kicks him in the face, and everybody cheers, as Nightcrawler is just not happy.
I don't think the Orky's kind of brainwashing session they were having had a particularly good effect if this caused them to feel guilt.
I think the idea is that they were seeing her as an angel at
I
the
mean,
time.
he's still fired.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that
calls her an
guy.
abomination.
Oh, no, not
he
that
has
guy.
a gas mask.
I think the gas mask guy, no, that's not going to work. But I think the idea was it for it to be these priests that are cowering on the ground here.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guess is it's trying to describe like you had a very bad trip on some LSD or anything, and then saw
Yeah.
something absolutely horrific. So they're probably going to be traumatized.
Yeah. And which is like kind of what they point out of like, oh yeah, they're not going to be preaching against anyone. And Nightcrawler is still just absolutely distraught about it.
And the kids immediately, prove him wrong because they're like, well, what's the point? Why are you upset? She's going to come back. And he stops and he's like, well, you're right. I can't argue against that because she will come back, but it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, like this is wrong. They're like, all right, see you later, man. And then Nightcrawler notices something, and I guess is going to try to have fun. As we cut back to Krakoa, as Magneto is showing up at the Green.
Yep. He, still being as dramatic as possible, floats in with his arms crossed to a very darkened green lagoon, as Nightcrawler told him that they found a museum of horrors and wanted to show him something from there.
Yeah, very dramatic, delivering. Snaps on the lights. It's a big ol' statue of Magneto with some missiles. Everybody's just kind of laughing about it. You got like Wolverine here, you got Colossus here. Magneto just remarks, a jape, and we cut to a data page. This is in reference to X-Men number 1.
Yep. It is exactly what Magneto did. He tried to get those ICBM missiles to turn it against the US and was foiled by mystery mutants.
Yeah. The X-Men, the original 5. Yeah, I thought this was kind of cute.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah.
I think it's really fun.
It's
Yeah,
a very
it's a
interesting, or like, it's a very funny joke to include in this issue in particular, which is tackling like themes about like what it means to live in a society where you can like resuscitate and people kill each other for fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not for fun, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of a... Oh, well, no, you're talking about Crucible. It's a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way.
It's we'll discuss Crucible. We will discuss Crucible.
Yes. First,
There
we
is
need to get to Magneto's speech, because this jape is now going to become a, hey, aren't we all great?
Yeah. The data page here is just a newspaper article of like when they foiled Magneto's plans back then, and yeah. And Magneto looks up at the statue, comments like, "Oh, don't worry about the joke. These old missiles are a testament to folly." And yeah, then we kick it off. Just Nightcrawler constantly trying to talk him down as Magneto just starts giving a speech about how all those years that we wasted having mutant against mutant when we should be building community, and we've defeated death now. Look at what we have done together. Turns the missiles into like pyramids.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a reference to wow, why did I just forget the name? Mysterium? There we go.
Yeah. And says like these pitiful toys are to, an invitation to forsake the past and seize a brave new future to anyone who cares enough to take it seriously, as he stares at night.
I am going to give it to Magneto. He knows when to launch into a speech and how to make a good one impromptu.
Yeah. I like this moment a lot. Magneto just able to just kind of effortlessly just deliver this when the moment calls for it.
Mm-hmm. No, I really like it too.
Yeah, he starts dramatically floating away as Nightcrawler teleports after him to have a conversation because he doesn't know what the heck just happened.
Mm-hmm. And as Magneto, kind of snipes back and he says, well, I believe it's called a sermon, which I thought was your area. And Magneto then asks him about the religion that he claimed he was going to make at the dawn of this new era.
Yeah.
He did mention it a couple of times.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, Nightcrawler again just seems very dejected by like I'm still kind of working on it, and Magneto just tells him it's a fool's errand, but preferable to these. Um, Nightcrawler then kind of launches, smaller text. He's being a little bit defeated at the moment, and just tries to shoot back with, isn't that appropriate, in the land of the ever young?
Mm-hmm. Or
like this, laughter might be a good idea right now.
Yeah, because we're going to get at the heart of what is bothering Nightcrawler. As Magneto is going to say, it's Crucible, which is going to be that evening, as we've seen before, the gladiatorial death match between a mutant and a mutant who has lost their powers so they can be resurrected. And Nightcrawler rightfully still sees it as absolutely horrifying and as murder.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Magneto dismisses it and also remarks that, oh yeah, wasn't he pretty good at the whole resurrection thing himself? And then also hits him with the line, "You are so busy looking for snakes you can't see eat."
Also, a really hard line. I really like that.
We get a data page here about Krakoa. Proverb: whenever a mutant stands, there grows Krakoa. Wherever Krakoa looms, there stands a mutant kind. We get a picture of Krakoa in the Pacific, Atlantic Krakoa, and then a little red thing
This is
that
pending.
just says pending with some redacted information on it.
Yeah, we don't get much distinction between Atlantic and Pacific Krakoa other than there's a map difference. But
Yeah.
it hasn't been explored a lot outside of that. I honestly kind of forget every now and again that there are two different islands, but,
Yeah, it really hasn't.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Atlantic Krakoa really doesn't come up all that often. Like, it's
No.
a thing.
Is there any feature of note in Atlantic Krakoa that we know of? Or is every
I have no
important
idea.
building in the Pacific one?
I believe there is, because when we first started, and I believe Hickman had the first two maps, it described what was on what island, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Magneto flies off, and then we get to meet a lost mutant.
Yeah.
Yes, she's... I always feel bad for her, but she is wearing very, torn and old clothing. She is using a wooden cane to walk around, and you can tell immediately that her arms are much longer than normal, and she seems to be hunched over. She's currently trying to talk to Nightcrawler, and says, people have told me you're one of the nice ones, and I just want to belong. I'm lost, can you help me? And Nightcrawler, still reeling from what Magneto told him, just sort of passes her off to the welcome hall, which I think is a very funny idea, and leaves.
Yeah. Krakoa's
I think
sanctuary,
it's-
you have nothing to fear by.
It's very interesting how immediately messianic she looks.
Mhm.
Again, in an issue with a lot of religion stuff going on.
Yeah.
She has the cane, she has the old-timey robes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like this, it feels like she wandered out of the Bible.
Yeah, this
I
is a...
truly don't know what this is communicating, what this is supposed to be portraying.
I have a guess considering where it goes, but it does feel almost like a biblical parable of, the person down on their luck, asking for help, and you push them aside and do something else. We will see what the consequences of those are, but there's definitely a story and a theme there.
Mhm.
Yeah. Also, we have someone watching.
From the shadows.
We'll probably figure out who that is. And we cut back to the religious text that night.
Yep. First, Florilegium, the path unto the unknown.
Yeah, Path into the Path.
Path unto the path. That was my bad.
Yeah. It proposes the question: what happens? What journey does a soul undertake during resurrection? Mostly just how does that work if it's coming back to people after their death? And then immediately just kind of concedes, I don't know. I'm not good at metaphysics. I can't really answer this. I don't know if this is going to be valuable to one.
Yeah, and I think that's the more interesting aspect of it. And this is a very logical conclusion to come to, and I can see where the writer went with this of, Nightcrawler is trying to make a religion. Okay, what happens next when he does so and start answering questions? Well, if the mutants do have their same souls or if they're different, that's not going to change how they live their day-to-day lives because they're still doing it. So I kind of like the inversion of it where Kurt is starting to figure out maybe I shouldn't try to add spirituality on top of all of this and instead look at what we're doing in our day-to-day and actively going for. So instead of trying to talk theory, he's talking practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is very funny how every time that resurrection has been mentioned, like the mechanics of it, it's very, again, like mechanical. It's very rigid. It's all about like backing up kind of like a file. And when they come back, it's going to be up to that point where the backup was made, which does not mesh well at all with the conception of a soul or like what it brings to the table. So it's very funny that this just gets dropped here out of convenience, because everything that's been described about the resurrection process is basically just making a backup of a file in your computer.
Yeah.
I do wonder if Spurrier did have creative control over all of what Krakoa was doing, if he would have gone further into that question, or if he really did feel, no, there's really no point to try and answering that.
Yeah.
I do wish at some point we got like a resurrection that went against that idea, and like the mutants suddenly remembered stuff that they shouldn't because the backup was made before what they're remembering. I think that would be the interesting bit for a story.
That would be fun. I mean, we do kind of have the inversion of that with Rockslide, because he came back, quote, messed up, but we haven't gone further into it other than that.
But that's that's again playing into the file thing, because that's just a corrupted file.
Yeah,
or a file
that's... Yeah.
I want, because if you do have something like that, where there is an occurrence that goes against the kind of principle of it, then you are introducing some mysticism or spirituality into the mix. You are opening up the gate for that sort of belief and that sort of like religious or like unexplained phenomena. But when it's also neatly explained and this is how it works, we understand the entirety of it. There is no mystery to it. It's very hard to attach any sort of spirituality to the process.
Yeah, it's very kind of written into a corner.
Yeah. Which you could just get out of the corner if you're writing the thing.
Yeah. I think this is kind of the issue of some of Krakoa having all these different writers attached, is like you can't explore aspects of it, but like
yes,
you do get kind of backed into what the main thing that's happening is, right? Like if someone set up rules here, we got to follow these rules.
Yeah, it's the Star Wars problem.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Nightcrawler standing on a branch, listening to Exodus tell his campfire stories about, we're talking about Crucible, talking about Wanda.
Again, her name used
Pretender.
as if it's a dirty word.
Yeah, which of you can name the hated one? And then one of the kids fires off with, "Oh, it's the Patchwork Man," and Exodus is taken aback.
He's like, no.
He's like, wait, no. Our villain's the Scarlet Witch, and the kids start telling campfire stories about the Patchwork Man ripping off people's. And as Nightcrawler's hearing this and hearing like the kids kind of go off, he hears somebody in the bushes following him. Nightcrawler finally teleport rushes the person that's been following him around. It's Dr. Nemesis. He has a big old mushroom on his head. Mushrooms,
plural, as he says he's doing it for science, which, oh boy, are you guys ready to learn about Dr. Nemesis?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay. Let me go into this data page real quick, though.
Yes, please do that before I break this down, because, oh man.
Because, this is the proposal for the formation of a dedicated R&D unit submitted by the Quiet Council on blank by Dr. Nemesis. And there is a bunch of different divisions here: physical science, life science, sentient sentient irrationality, formal exact scientists, all broken up into different divisions, all broken up into different subsets of that. Every single one of those has Dr. Nemesis as the head of the department, except for law and ethics, which has a situation vacant written over it, which I think just tells you a lot about this character.
Yes, just right off the back, as well as this tiny little asterisk that he has right next to the genetic diversity program, which says, "Shut up, Sinister, you don't have a monopoly on this."
Yeah, and also it's just the names of these. Like, you get some stuff like biochemistry and thermodynamics and functional biology, but then you have stuff like mostly ethical pharma, quantum weirdness, time shenanigans, experimental murder tech, genetic diversity programs, psychedelic insight. Like, yeah, like this dude
This dude's doing weird science.
Yeah.
On the one hand, I think it's a little too on the nose, but having law and ethics be a subsection of sentient irrationality is kind of funny.
Yeah.
That part is funny, yeah.
All right, tell me about Dr. Nemesis.
Oh boy. All right, so there's actually two Dr. Nemesis, or Nemesi. There's one who is Michael Stockton. He was an Ant-Man villain, and he sort of disappeared after the 60s. That's another guy. We're not worrying about him. Who we want to talk about is Dr. James Nicola Bradley. He first appeared in Lightning Comics number 6 in 1941, and after lapsing into the public domain, Marvel grabbed him for Invaders number 1 in 1993. However, because he fell into the public domain, his Lightning Comics run is canon to this character, so they are the same person, which makes it a little weird. So, this character here was born in 1906, and during his childhood, his mutant power awakened, giving him a genius-level intellect. He briefly fought crime as Dr. Nemesis before becoming disillusioned with the prospect and sort of giving it up for a time. And then the heel turn kind of comes in, where he is then recruited by the Third Reich to create the Battle Axis, which is a group of public domain heroes turned villains that entered the public domain. So he was the head of this group.
Okay.
He then somehow switches sides at the end of it once he is like, Nazis are bad, and ends up spending the rest of World War II going after Nazi scientists and murdering them.
Sure.
He hates the Nazis so much that he, quote, goes on a crusade against him, including one against a Nazi dolphin. He also slaughtered Nazi dinosaurs, reverse-engineered Aryan influenza, sabotaged the SS clone labs in Peru, and even managed to outplay the cosmic commandant at quantum chess.
I'm sorry, Aryan influence.
Yes, I have nothing more for you other than that.
Okay.
All you need to know is around this time, once he finished his Nazi hunt, he upgraded himself with science and has let him live a healthy and unaging life into the 2000s. He's pretty much entirely uninterested in mutant affairs until he joins the X Club, which is a group of scientists that were brought together to try and find a way to turn the X gene back on after Wanda turned it off. So that's how he has now, after all of that, found himself on Krakoa just doing science.
Good for him.
Yeah, his was a wild one. When I started looking into him, I'm like, what do you mean he didn't start at Marvel? What do you mean he started working with the Nazis and public domain heroes turned villains? Comics are weird.
An Operation Paperclip ass guy.
Yeah.
No?
Well,
weirdly, no.
Just the way he looks, I mean.
Yes, the way he looks, definitely, but this was always kind of his look, even in the 40s, besides the mushrooms on his head.
All right.
Yeah, he is a character. I'm very curious about this Battle Axis thing that Marvel did, where they were just like, yeah, let's grab the public domain guys and make them work for the Nazis. That's a crazy thing to get past editorial and say, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, yep.
Anyway.
So, yeah, Dr. Nemesis, drops the fact that he was the person who cultivated the Krakoan meds.
Just to continue this guy's crazy streak of stuff that he's done. He made the life-saving medicine that is now going out to the world and is being used as a bargaining chip. And because he has reached his height, clearly the next thing he's supposed to do is growing psychedelics out of his own brain.
Yeah.
That's
Seemed like the obvious next step. And yeah.
Yeah, he has been following Nightcrawler, as he says, because he finds individuals with an air of bewildered pointlessness as the best volunteers. And as Nightcrawler says, no, he's not. He points out that, well, yes, you are. You're holding a crucifix and you've been kind of sulking all over the place. You have fought actual gods, and yet you are still clinging to your old religion, even though we have beaten death.
Yeah, also, it's weird that you continue to believe in the only one that we haven't seen. And Nightcrawler says, well, maybe that's why I continue to honor him. Dr. Nemesis misses this. And yeah, he asks him, what do you do when you've run out of questions? It's you find better questions.
Yeah, interestingly, having Dr. Nemesis be the point that kind of spurs Nightcrawler into thinking differently about what he's been contemplating, I think is kind of interesting. And also self-serving for Dr. Nemesis, since, as he said, he's looking for people who are feeling pointless and helpless.
Yeah. Starts talking about the Dunbar number.
Ooh, I get to talk about theory.
Yep.
Okay. If we've not had enough side things about all of the new stuff in this number 1, it's not going to stop. There's a lot in this issue. So, the Dunbar number. This is a real study done by anthropologist Robin Dunbar in the 90s. He studied primate brain sizes and their average social group size, noting a correlation between the two. He then extrapolated that to human brain sizes, arriving at a number between 100 and 250, with 150 being the acceptable average. He says, and as he describes it here is pretty accurate, that there is a theory that says there is only so many relationships a human brain can keep before everything just becomes abstract. They are shared ideas, they are laws, currencies, social rituals, figureheads of good and evil, and mythologies. And once you get to that level of abstractness within a society, then, that is how a society is formed, is on those myths, on those agreed upon ideals. And as the Dunbar number continues on with just a little bit, is that if a society does not have shared ideas and they cannot find social rituals to keep up the social order, what happens is violent social collapse. Usually in the way of, strong overcoming the weak. There is no morality.
Yeah, but he also remarks but also what's probably going to happen is the strongest people will invent rituals, and then we cut to them.
Mm-hmm. A very, very good lead into that. And again, going to be tying into the overall question that Way of X is going to be asking, which is, yes, this is how Krakoan society is currently going. There is technically nothing wrong with it because they come back to life, but ethically, is it okay?
Yeah. Magneto is currently fighting the mutant that Nightcrawler saw, who we learn was not lost. That is her name.
Yes, and she is getting shredded by Magneto, and he is just berating her horribly, saying that she is not fighting back. There are no free passes to paradise. If you want to be granted your powers again, you have to fight for it.
Yeah. Lost spots Nightcrawler in the crowd as Nightcrawler covers his mouth in horror as she just says, you were one of the kindly ones. Why did you send me away? I wanted you to do this. It would have been painless. or less painful than this.
Yeah.
As Magneto continues to berate her, and Nightcrawler teleports in to stop him.
Yeah, and I think this is where it kind of comes around to being more like a biblical parable, because she, again, was the, down on her luck person who really needed help, and the person who could have given her help said no and turned her away. It falls in line with other biblical stories where the same thing has happened, and then usually the person who then turns the needy away is the one that gets punished. In this case, that kind of happens because Kurt is horrified by what he has done, but also Lost is going to end up getting what she wants, because we're going to see her finally stand up after most of her robes have been shredded, and her spine is elongated and dislocated, her legs are very long, she clearly looks like she is in a ton of pain.
Yeah. Magneto again does, today you are lesser, today you do not belong, you are a fighter. You will meet as kin tomorrow, and then stabs her with a metallic sword, berates Nightcrawler some more, and then Nemesis shows up to help him up, as Nightcrawler says he is bothered by the cheering crowd.
Yeah, he is a little bothered by Magneto, but not so much as the rest of society around him clearly just cheering this on.
Yeah. We also get field notes from the desk of Dr. Nemesis' data page here, specifically talking about Crucible, and what he concludes here, I think, is really spot on. It's this big data page where he says what Crucible ends up doing is it encourages a warrior class. The people that get first in line for resurrection are the people that are going to fight for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we saw it with, a couple of other mutants, too. It's those that can bring themselves to do Crucible and are willing to fight through the pain and trauma of all of that are going to come back first, instead of those that died maybe a decade prior.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like this as a criticism of the resurrection protocol, or at least the idea that this is a fair or free of prejudice space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for as much as Krakoa is trying to tout itself as this new society that is doing things outside of, what humans are capable of, and they're clearly better and more ethical, that's not the case. We've seen a lot of the little problems, but this one also does feel like a very larger societal problem.
Yeah, like, if you are willing to get into the arena and get stabbed by Magneto, if you are the type of person who will do that, you are afforded status than those. And if you are just dead, then, sorry about you.
Yeah, and we have seen some issues arising out of this, of how this process is entirely up to administrative or bureaucratic processes and attached to political interests and who's friends with whom, which is a lot of fun in other kind of series like X Factor and some of that in New Mutants. And I really like how everything's coalescing into a vision of how deeply flawed this system is. And I don't know if we're actually going somewhere with it, but it does seem like something that's now in enough places to be called systematic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
To the point that, if there is a writing room, or what can be called a writing room for the entirety of Krakoa, this seems like a pretty big undercurrent that's getting pushed in a way that has me excited.
Yeah, I agree. I think examining this is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying coming back to it too, having, first read this when they came out, because I didn't entirely see it or notice it. I was just, Krakoa is a good place. Mutants are able to live and they're free of harm. They're free from prejudice against humans. Clearly, it's a great space for everyone to be, and therefore it should keep going. But now going back, I'm like, okay, the cracks were in there in the foundation. It was always there. And this feels very purposeful, and I really like it.
Yeah.
Yep, so we cut to Arba Magna the next morning. Nightcrawler is here with a cheese toasty in his tail.
Yep, we are here to see the return of our new friend Lost, who is going to be brought back, as well as Pixie, who is also going to be brought back. But first, we're going to meet Lost. And as she is brought back to life and she is given back her memory, we find that her powers are to negate gravity around her, allowing her to float. While this is great for her.
Before we quite get to that, Xavier also shows up to talk to Nightcrawler a bit and just lays down some absolute bullshit.
Yeah, no. Again, a very good through line for Way of X. Xavier is a bad dad.
Yeah.
He's really, really bad.
But yeah, Lost is back. Gravitational field.
Negation, which, very cool, allows her to float and fly, which would explain her long limbs, because gravity's not keeping her down. However, it has an unfortunate side effect, where it causes extreme vertigo in those around them, and extreme nausea as a result.
Everybody starts projectile vomiting, except for Dr. Nemesis and Nightcrawler, who, with Nemesis, it's because he self-evolved some ingenious bio-gyroscopes back in my 20s, and for Nightcrawler, he just shrugs and says he thinks he has good balance.
Yeah. A joke that's going to be played more than once.
Yeah.
Yep. We are gonna see that gag again. Get it?
Yeah. She runs off scared. Nightcrawler calls out, but Xavier tells Pixie's back. DJ's showing her the video of her dying.
Yeah, which she's not really into. We get a faraway shot of him having the camera up, and it's clearly like her body without her head in a pile of blood, which is really horrific.
Yeah. And she's seeing something freaky out of the corner of her eye. But then Nightcrawler shows up, and he's got a cheese toasty for her, which she's not super interested in, because she wants sushi.
And as an attempt to comfort him, Xavier does remind him that they come back as they were when Cerebro recorded them, so not as they were when they died. So they don't remember their death, but there's still going to be a little piece of them missing.
Yeah. Nightcrawler, again, still very bothered by this. Says, like, there's wonder and hope. There's also vice and violence and death. Doesn't think they can all be off playing hero, but also he's struggling because he can't actually find a moral flaw in what's going on, but he knows they're wrong.
Yeah, and in an interesting turn, instead of turning it down or telling him that he's wrong, as most everyone has been doing so far, Xavier says, no, actually, I don't think you're that crazy. And again brings up the concept of creating a mutant faith that Nightcrawler is now regretting that he said so loudly.
Yeah. And Xavier starts talking to him about and mentions he kind of has someone in mind. And wants him to see if he can track him down. It's like, well, if it's who I think it is, that's going to be a little bit hard. I don't know how he's going to react. He's a little bit unpredictable.
Yes, and also to note, Xavier's going to mention that he's pretty sure whatever this thing is an Omega-level mutant, marked, goes after people for negative emotions. Very good at hiding from Xavier.
Yeah. And mentions he wants to sing Kurt.
Suspiciously good.
Suspiciously good.
Xavier mentions that, he's been, for all that he is not a good dad, and wants to send Kurt because Kurt just has a...
I wish Kurt would have said, I need you to write those words down, notarize it, and, frame it on a wall. That you said that you were not good at something, because, man, Xavier never admits when he does something wrong.
Calls Kurt one of the kindly ones. Kurt wakes up seeing the patchwork man in the corner of his room, and we cut to another data page here, the path into the path.
Yep.
He concludes the problem with all of this that he's seeing was not mutant kind, it was...
Yeah, he mentions that he tried to self-destruct by drinking or going on the recon missions, playing a joke on Magneto, but after all of that, and especially when Xavier reached out to him and gave him a chance, he didn't think it was going to lead where it ended up going.
Yeah. So, we cut to Blindfold's grave.
Yes, and just a very quick thing about Ruth Aldine, aka Blindfold. She was introduced in Astonishing X-Men number 7 in 2004. She has psychic-based powers, including astral projection, and the ability of precognition just like Destiny. Immune to reality warping, which helped her calm a certain someone down, she and that individual kind of ended up being together. But shortly after the last event, right before Krakoa, Blindfold kept seeing futures where she was killed in painful manners. So instead of letting those happen, she killed herself instead. And that is how she died.
And obviously isn't coming back because we don't do precogs.
We don't do precogs.
Anyway, so yeah, Nightcrawler's leaving some flowers there. And he mentions it's interesting. There's a voice in his head. Mentions it's interesting that there's not really a rush to resurrect folks.
Yes, and this voice is able to manifest this kind of blue energy fire that begins to burn away at Nightcrawler as he goes on and on about how he understands why his dad sent Kurt, but says that he is, well, a little too late, and really, he's going to regret this. As we cut to the last page, and we see David Haller in the flesh, kind of.
Well, yeah,
kind of.
He's blue disembodied flesh with the line, "The bastards are already inheriting the Legion." We want to talk about Legion?
I do want to talk about Legion, because Legion is fun. But I do have a question for you, Sergio. Do you know anything about Legion?
Absolutely not. Well, I do now, after reading this couple of issues.
Okay, I figured. I'm very curious, what did you get from all of that?
He has the craziest hair.
Yes, he does.
Yes, this man's got some kind of Goku hair, but not as spiky in different directions. It just all goes up.
Uh-huh. He kind of reminds me of Freakazoid.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, that's a really good one.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to know my fun fact about Legion? Not really a fun fact, but just a
what
thing
is,
that I think... What
is your fun fact? Other than you watched the Legion TV show, you are one of a dozen people that did so.
There is a 3-season FX Legion show.
And if you ask Tim, it's really good.
It is really good. People should watch it.
I have not watched it, but if you do want any opinion on a superhero show that happened at any point, Tim is the guy you want to ask, because he has seen all of them.
Yeah.
But, okay, Legion. David Charles Haller was introduced in New Mutants number 25 in 1984. He is the son of Charles Xavier and Gabrielle Haller, the latter having kept knowledge of her pregnancy and her son's birth a secret from Charles. It wasn't until David was a teenager and manifested his powers, after his mother and stepfather were both brutally murdered, that he came under the watch of Dr. Moira McTaggart, who, after having, now has Legion with him and isn't totally able to control his powers, Dr. Moira McTaggart asks for the aid of Charles, because David's power is to create spontaneous mutations and has been said, if he were fully in control, to have the power to bend time to his will. So, outside of, Reed Richards' son, Franklin, David is considered one of the strongest mutants to exist.
Legion's strong.
Legion's crazy. But on the other side of Legion is kind of the more outdated and very problematic aspect, which David has dissociative identity disorder. Previously, it was known as multiple personality disorder, but it has since been changed. and each power he manifests gets its own alter and personality in its mind. He can also inadvertently absorb the consciousnesses of others, including those of people that he has killed. So every single time he creates a new power, he gets a new, quote, voice in his head. And as we're going to see, because we're going to see him in the next issue, it's still the very, very old version of multiple personality disorder, where the person is crazy and everything is wild in their head. If you want a better and a good, air quotes, representation of dissociative identity disorder, Moon Knight is actually a really good one, especially the Disney Plus show. And, you know, you have Moon Knight on one end and Legion is on the far opposite end. He's a fan favorite character and he is a very good character, but the aspect of him where he can't essentially control himself because of all of the voices in his head, kind of old-fashioned.
I think how he's used here is interesting. We'll get into it a little bit more, but I feel like he is... You know, there's some not good stuff going on in the old brain here, but I feel like for the most part, this doesn't seem to be a fault of himself, and he seems stable.
Yes, this is definitely a better representation of him than he has in the past. But it still kind of falls under problematic elements, even though he is in control for the most part.
Yeah.
So also, wow, this episode's going long. I'm so sorry. Way of X is very, very chunky. I'd say we're close to being done, but we're now going to jump into Way of X number 2.
Yeah.
So, for Way of X number 2, we have Let Us Pray, and that being Prey. This one came out in May of 2021, and is, again, still written by C. And we're going to open up pretty much exactly where we left off, where Legion is still hurting Kurt, and Kurt is trying to explain, hey, I am here to help you. I'm just here because your dad thinks that you might be the Patchwork Man on Krakoa.
Yeah. Legion just scoffs at this, like, yeah, no, that's not me. But also, you got some weird stuff going on in your brain, man. What's happening? And it's a pirate ship being attacked by a Kraken.
Yes, while also maybe getting fired on by other ships.
Yeah.
Also, it's on fire.
Yeah. And he's just like, yeah, it's I wasn't quite expecting this, but something's odd going on. Also, I don't think this is entirely you. There's something going on here, man, and pulls out some crazy symbol looking.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a coin, but it's smoking green and oozing as well. It clearly looks very gross. And before, Nightcrawler can get an answer out of Legion, he says, no, favor for a favor. I can only astral project forever, and my body's about 10 minutes from causing an extremely nasty accident. So unless you want reality to tear into two, I would hurry up.
Yeah, it's like, all right, I gave you some coordinates. See you later, man. Good luck. And yeah, Kurt's off to go do that. We then cut to Krakoa in the bar with no name as Fabian Cortez, our old pal, is watching Dazzler perform.
I love that this is what happens to him after he gets stood up and absolutely made a fool of by everybody.
Yeah,
he just
fired.
Goes to the bar.
Yeah. Nemesis shows up to talk to him.
Yep.
As Fabian, who has 4 empty glasses in front, who is remarking that he can't even get an invite to the gala now. Nemesis cuts him off, says, I don't actually care. I want to exploit you with some psychedelics. You into that, man?
I appreciate his forward attitude.
Yeah. Dazzler knows his name. Fabian kind of gives a nonchalant joke about that. And Nemesis gives him a little speech here about, oh yeah, I know you. You're the guy that you're the weasel with the power to boost other people's powers. Murdered dozens of people. The name of some quasi-religious ambitions. And Fabian corrects him here. I didn't murder anybody.
He's such a little shit.
Yeah, he makes a distinction between people and humans. And
Yeah.
also, you didn't mention how the first thing out of Nemesis' mouth is how he's a fanatic who worshipped Magneto.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Nemesis.
I do too. I'm really starting to come around to him. I like this little inclusion of Fabian, of everyone just continuing to dunk on him. So fun little interaction. But Nightcrawler is here. He knows Nemesis had dealings with Legion at some point in the past, and is like, okay, awesome, come with me, I need your help.
Yeah. Pixie is also at the bar with Loa. Loa, who is talking about having a crush on Mercury and wants Pixie to invite her to the gala with them. As friends, platonic friends. Not a date, at all. Nightcrawler's here. Grabs Pixie and goes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lost is here again.
Mm-hmm. And, you should probably get ready, because every time Lost shows up, we're gonna get the gag.
Yeah. Nightcrawler says, like, I really wanted to talk, but then Legion's like, no, you gotta go, bro. Nightcrawler says, okay, we'll talk later. Fabian calls her a beanpole, and everybody starts puking as the Patchwork Man shows up.
Yes, but it seems like only Lost can see the Patchwork Man, or at least that's what the panel implies. So, again, we're running into that same problem of Nightcrawler really needs to listen to Lost instead of running off.
Yeah. Also, Dazzler's puke has, Yeah, so Nightcrawler, Pixie, and Nemesis arrive in Saudi Arabia, where, in Orcus Lab, something has gone wrong.
Terribly wrong. This place is smoking. There are skeletons in suits. It's bad.
A good, 100 meters away from the facility, too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's bad stuff. I do like also the little bit here from Dr. Nemesis as they do run into the astral projection of Legion, where Legion is talking in a Scottish accent and has been this whole time, but as Dr. Nemesis notes, that is not his real accent. He was not born in Scotland. He kind of takes on different accents over time and changes them up.
Yeah. Legion remarks like, oh yeah, you brought Pixie because of the psychic dagger. That makes sense. Crazy old Legion, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
Pixie remarks like, hey, I was one of Blindfold's best friends. But before she could really get off the apology, he just says like, I'm not really in the mood for that. And then points to his brain, which is Gene. His body is gone. He is just brain now. And Nightcrawler kind of gets what he's at. And they're going into the brain.
Yep, and as Legion says once again, the lunatics have taken over the asylum, and you are the medicine.
Yeah. Things are going wrong. It's a lot of things. A lot of bad things going on.
Just imagine kind of altered versions of different heroes from the Marvel Universe, but cannibalistic and murderous in a very distorted New York-ish looking area. We are in David's mind, where all of his different alters and their different power sets are just doing whatever they want to do.
Yeah. We immediately get into a data page here about the Orcus Protocol, and exactly what happened here.
Yeah, this is about the Legion Project. It looks like the Legacy House that was selling stuff back in Wolverine was selling something, quote, interesting, and Orcus was able to get its hands on it. They exercise the core personality from the brain and have introduced a destabilizing agent of chaos to the already chaotic mind. So a little bit of hint as to how they got to Legion, because he's going to explain he has no idea how this happened to him. And, of course, as to what they're doing in this project.
Yeah.
And in this next page, we've got a ton of text, and it's essentially going to reaffirm what Dr. Nemesis was talking about with Kurt back in issue number 1 during the Crucible. Because, as Legion's going to explain, he's kind of frustrated that, one, he's not used to not having the voices in his head, but also, why is Orcus doing this? Why would they want to take his brain and just see what happens when the animals run the zoo? And Dr. Nemesis says, well, he's clearly got it. Orcus is using David's brain to simulate what would happen to Krakoa. And it is anomy, or the derangement of the infinite. It is a hypothetical decay that affects a society with no limits. Meaninglessness begets alienation. Desire leads to sadism and self-destruction.
I also just want to note here, just like kind of bringing it back down to the micro level, there is a through line here that Legion keeps talking about in all of this, is that he doesn't really want to be called Legion. He's tired of that name. He wants to be...
Yeah, as I believe he says at some point, he does not want to be the sickness, he wants to be himself. So, totally get it. And also, the Anomy theory, again, a real theory from a French social scientist who is credited with building the French School of Sociology, Émilie Durkheim. It's kind of fudged in this issue. It's less a society with no limits, and it's more a theory about a society with no achievable set goals or a mismatch of individual to societal beliefs. And it kind of goes from there. It's very interesting. I highly recommend looking into it if you like, sociology and that sort of thing like I do. But back to the comic.
Yeah, so they're trying to use this to simulate Krakoa's collapse, going pretty bad.
Yeah.
And David realizes an inevitable simulation thing, and they've introduced something else, and it looks like almost a Nimrod type thing. It's just constantly saying me.
Yeah, it's clearly got the Nimrod color scheme going on with the kind of steel gray look and then the pink purple accents. And it's saying me before we, trying to, further divide everything that was already in there to cause more chaos. Also, I'm sure just a commentary on, several Western societies as a whole. But
yeah,
pretty easily stopped, and the machine explodes. But to David's unfortunate realization, it's not gonna stop. His brain is still building up enough discharge to pretty much atomize the rest of the planet if it goes off.
Yeah, they're gonna have to kill Legion. Nemesis, very excited about this, remarks
so
the
excited.
science of homicide. Gets ready to shoot the brain, but Nightcrawler says, no, not you.
Yeah, and this is another moment of this two-parter that I really like. I'm not sure ultimately how I feel about it. I just like it as a moment. And because Pixie is like, well, Kurt, are you sure you want to do this? For your faith, this is technically murder, and you're not going to be comfortable with it. And Nightcrawler instead talks to David and says, well, you don't like being called Legion, right? Did you know Nightcrawler is a type of worm? It's blue and it's disgusting. It's not a very clever insult, but it's one I heard many times as a child. So I took it and I made it mine. You're not your flaws, David Haller. If destroying a lump of empty meat will return you to yourself, well, then perhaps there are some sins worth sinning.
Yeah, tells everybody to get out. Makes a plea asking for forgiveness before stopping. It doesn't matter, and shooting the brain. We get a panel of just gray of blood.
And therefore, Legion is dead.
Yeah. And we get another data page here, the prodigal son. What did we think of this moment, by the way, Sergio?
It's fine. I think it's a little overwrought. And I don't know, I really don't know where this is going in terms of the writing in this data page. I don't know if we're meant to... I don't know if we're going to get to a place where he's like super comfortable with the idea of resurrection and, just freely resurrecting. I'm guessing he's gonna get eventually to a suitable middle point. But for now, it looks like he's swinging kind of wildly between the two ends of the spectrum in terms of what he thinks about the whole concept of killing people so they come back fixed, quote unquote.
Yeah. It's definitely it's messy. I get what it's kind of going. It's like this resurrection as almost this idea of, but yeah, I do think it's a little bit over just kind of everything with like the whole simulation and whatnot. But I think I ultimately do like it.
We're going to find out eventually that that thing that they were simulating in order to make Krakoa collapse has already been put into place, presumably, and both the Patchwork Man and the things that Kurt was originally worried about, like the people being driven into a frenzy at the Crucible, were kind of evidence of that. So I do wonder where we're going to land in terms of what is good and what is bad.
Yeah.
Because Kurt is clearly now getting to a place where he understands resurrection in some circumstances is actually a good thing. It's not all bad.
Yeah. So we get our data page here, expert from the Book of Blaine. The prodigal son, S-U-N, not S-O-N. As Nightcrawler remarks that he killed him, but this was a almost healing thing, and then eventually they resurrected him.
They is a bit of a stretch, but we're going to see how that plays out, because as it notes here, when he returned to Krakoa that day, there was something that had changed.
Yeah, so the data page does this thing where it just continues onto the next page, which I think is kind of cool, and we get it as like the narration for the rest of it. And it's it's presented as this almost religious experience.
Yeah, as everybody is getting ready for the gala and prepared to go, a silence rolls over the island, and it's a stifling thunder of anti-noise, and everybody looks up and kind of notices that something is happening. And it notes here that the 5 all stop what they're doing as if they were struck by the same idea, and without a word, they turn to a new task. There are others that come in, some responding to it with alarm, others sensing or guessing their meaning. So Xavier and Magneto shown up. We have the Zorns, which I will get into next time because that's a whole other thing too. But everybody at the same time realizes something is happening.
Yeah. Xavier sees Legion, the little egg, his little goo body, says, I can't do this, he's too unstable, if he lapses, everything will, I cannot bring myself to do this, and Legion's like, no, I got you, it's okay, and just puts himself back into his body, and then says Charles looks like a crap astronaut.
I love it, especially right after Xavier's like, I can't do this, I cannot bring back my son because I don't trust him, and Legion's just like, nah, it's okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, then like Xavier immediately just goes into the bad father thing of him off. Like we got something going on. He's like, yeah. I get you. I'll see you later. Just gonna make myself some pants. See you later, man. He's like, and then he just tries to fire off with like, hey, promise me you won't do anything bad. He's like, yeah, sure, dude, I got it. It's very funny. And then also remarks, call me Legion.
Yeah. I don't know how earned it is, considering it happened in the same issue, but yeah, I love that.
Magneto immediately tries to recruit him, like, hey, we got a project, we could use some Omega level people, and he's like, no.
I don't trust you. And then Xavier's like, well, he's part of us, and then he's like, yeah, I don't trust you either, Dad. Yeah,
he's like, but Nightcrawler here, he doesn't really know what's going on here. He's got a lot of questions, but he doesn't have answers. I like that. Me and Nightcrawler are gonna go hang out.
I like that. I like how very forward and confident Legion is here.
Yeah. Tells them to go build their empire. I'm gonna hang out with Captain Earthworm. Says favor for a favor, and then says like, hey, there's some other stuff going on.
Yeah.
And also, he seems to want to help him out on this like religion kind of quest going on as well.
Yeah, he finds it interesting, and very different in the way of his dad is looking at it and Magneto and everybody else. He just thinks it is a fascinating idea and way to look at this paradise, which, he had not been involved with at all prior to this.
Yeah. And Nightcrawler realizes he thinks they've already induced. Orcus has already introduced this invasive exotic.
Yeah, that machine that we saw, their plan to bring about the crumbling of Krakoa.
Yeah. And says Nightcrawler remarks he thinks he knows who man is, and Legion confirms it is not Legion, it is Onslaught.
Dun dun dun.
As we get some ominous clouds over people clearly going to the gala. Let's get into Onslaught next time.
Oh, I want it so bad. I love Onslaught. I love him so much, but I will keep his whole thing because yeah, we are gonna talk about him next time. I love him so much.
Yeah,
he's so silly.
Sergio, do you have any thoughts about Way of X?
It's alright. I think it does engage with subjects that I have wanted to series to engage with for a while. So I think it's good. I think they're not something that are completely outside of what we've seen before. Like I mentioned before, we've seen X-Force and New Mutants kind of deal with the ineptitude of the resurrection process, and this is kind of analyzing it from another point of view, which is interesting. I, again, don't know where the whole anthropological or sociological angle is going to land, or where it's looking to go. But I'm interested. I like Kurt in general as a character. I think that this is the least confident we've seen him ever, which is fair since we're kind of starting out with him in a series proper. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I like how suddenly everyone has ideas about what society should be like and what it means for people to be able to resurrect and the social constructs that arise around it. And the simulation part kind of does not make sense, but I'm willing to let that one go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I think the weakest part out of all of this is the simulation part. I feel like it's hitting a nail that has already been firmly set with what we learned from Dr. Nemesis. So, but the rest of it, fantastic. These are the kind of questions that I love to have explored, and they're ones I've been asking too. So I'm glad everybody's starting to kind of take a look at them, kind of turn up the rock and see what's underneath. And I'm excited to see it play out again, especially through a more critical lens instead of just kind of sitting back and enjoying it. So very excited to get back into this. I love Kurt. I'm really liking Legion. So this is all a win for me.
Yeah, so far I don't know if this is the kind of voice that I would like take a look at this issue or at this subject. But we'll see where it lands. Like, there's still some ways to go.
Yeah. Let's get into Cable.
Yeah, so Cable number 11, also titled Depression, in all caps, is written by Gary Duggan and is released in June of 2021. And this one's definitely going to go a lot quicker than the Way of X titles, because we're going to open up here with the 5 discussing breaking the rules and bringing back old Cable, as has been discussed a couple of times back and forth if they should or if they shouldn't. And we find out that Xavier, as he walks in, has been caught up on the plan.
Yeah. So, we're good to go. Let's do it. And meanwhile, we cut to the Summers house as Cyclops, Cable, and Jean discuss bringing back old Cable.
Yeah, Scott still does not want Cable to bring back his older self, because, again, this is a time for him to make a mark for himself and really figure out who he is. But Jean disagrees. And she says, well, he's got a point. Apocalypse has always kind of been a shadow on this family, and Cable in his older self is kind of the one to know how to do this fight, and maybe doing this together is going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As this is happening, Sophie pops in. Cable apologizes but says like, "Oh no, this is a moment. We're breaking up with you." Meanwhile, a Knight of Galador walks in with a cane.
Yeah, he's missing a hand, he's missing a foot, he's dinged up, and he's just like, I come in peace, and I need to speak with you.
Yeah. But they're busy, so they're just gonna leave.
Yeah, I kind of like the really like fast pace of this one because it works really well in a weird way. Because we're gonna cut to Arbor Magna, and Scott and Jean are just discussing. Are you sure leaving the space knight at home was a good idea?
Yeah, and it's like, no, he just wants our help. Meanwhile, the five are like, "Are you sure we're bringing him back with the techno-organic virus?" And it's like, yeah, he's gonna want it back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, he's studying that. So yeah, Cable back here with the metal arm and all, and old Cable immediately remarks like, "Been a while." Like,
Yeah, back to Krakoa, huh?
It's
yeah,
funny how, even though this is a much more humorous series, this is still evidence of what was mentioned in the previous issues about the favoritism in the resurrection process.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Because if this was anyone else, there would be 1,000 objections about bringing someone back who's a version of someone who's already alive.
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
We just now have
There-
two Cables.
This would be like a whole arc of X Factor
Yeah.
if this
Yes.
happened.
I mean, that's currently kind of an arc in New Mutants where Gabby's worried if
It
she
is,
dies,
yes.
she's not going to come back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah, it's the Summers. We're good with making exceptions.
Exactly.
Old Cable hugs
But
Hope.
yeah, he's back.
I think it's a pretty nice moment.
It is a nice moment. I really do need to go read a series with them in it because I don't actually know much about their relationship.
It's like a father-daughter thing, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's the vibe I get. It just seems very sweet.
Cable already kind of got a lead, teleports off. Young Cable is like, "Hey, can you take me with you?" And then we show up in a war wagon.
Mm-hmm.
War wagon? I don't. Yeah,
No.
some kind of.
No, the War Wagon is
Yeah,
the
that's
other
something later.
car.
Yeah, this is
It's
the Grey
smaller.
Malkin 2.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the cool spaceship.
Yeah. Gets his AI to talk. She mentions like, yeah, Strife has kidnapped mutant babies. We got some of them, but not all of them.
Yep, and the two basically have some banter for a little bit where Cable is getting caught up a little, or old Cable is getting caught up and says, "Hey, you did everything you knew or thought you could do. That's fine. You still have growing up to do. I realized after a while that, it's kind of BS. You do what you can do. You don't grow into the role of protector of the timeline. I'm still trying to figure it out." Essentially trying to give himself a pep talk.
Yeah. I don't really got much for this.
No, it's just a lot of talk, a lot of catching up. We do see old Cable put the Light of Galador in his little robot horse that we have seen him use in those little flashbacks, so we now see how it got there. And
Yeah.
we also learn that they're pretty sure they know what Strife is now planning to do. He's planning to bring about essentially another Inferno, which is a demonic invasion of the planet. And they just need to go figure out exactly what realm he's in.
He's kind of got an idea already. And he's gonna go in first. Young Cable says he's gonna get the band back together. Gives him a little flower to make a gateway. Old Cable teleports off.
To talk to Magic.
Yeah.
This is really short, but I love the dynamic between these two. Because Magic can be a little sassy and grumpy herself, and she immediately says, "Go away."
Yeah, just go. I'm meditating. Old Cable gives her a marker. She's like, "All right, fine." That's.
I do think the marker's really fun because it's a very easy setup into a future plot line that, Duggan or someone else can bring up like 10 years from now if they wanted to.
Yeah. We get a data page here about Cable's War Wagon's deployment log, which he jump around a lot of different timelines. I like that this isn't linear, but this is the order that apparently this all happened in.
Yes, and also none of these have happened, by the way. There are, again, more story things that could just happen.
2015 Secret War Wagons. That's just Secret Wars. I almost wonder if that happened.
I don't think so, because I tried to look it up, and I don't remember any war wagons being used, or it being a Deadpool story. I could be wrong. But
It sounds just like a pun.
It does. It does. I'm half wondering if it's supposed to be like, this is a fake sequel to the Secret Wars, but it's all about the war wagons.
Uh-huh.
Secret Wars had like a ton of little parallel universe minis, so I can see that happening, but I don't know. Anyway, Cable's driving it down like NYC, just a big old crazy little hover car with a minigun on it.
Mm-hmm.
As him and Domino are just going to pick up Deadpool, who is taking pictures with people. He's a little bit down on his luck. Deadbeat Pool, what he calls himself.
Yep, and I do like how Cable comes, like, rams a car to the side and is like, all right, get in.
Get in, we're gonna go kill Strife.
Yep.
Like,
And
What
I know...
stop them from writing the full thing, like the full meme? Why not go get in looser?
Yeah.
I
wish
don't
they
know.
did.
But I do, again, Deadpool can either be really enjoyable or very annoying, depending on who's writing him. But I really like the way Duggan writes Deadpool, especially with his little quip of like, you guys are crazy not to add me to X-Force. I'm like, right here.
Yeah, he's like, I have nothing going on. I'm not even guest starring. Like, his book had been canceled at this point, so like, yeah,
He's desperate.
Poor Deadpool, yeah. Meanwhile, Magic and Old Cable are in old limbo, or like some weird limbo-esque place.
Basically, a land of magic and evil. Looks cool.
Cable says that Magic can just have this place. Magic asks him if you stick.
Yep. No answer. Just a look.
Yeah. Young Cable, meanwhile, is back on the moon as he just asks Cyclops and Jean for a quick mission. The Knight of Galador is still here, asking borrow the sword. He wants its final purpose, and Cable's like, "Yeah, it's in good hands. I'll catch you later. I'll bring back the sword."
I feel like this is leading up to him losing the sword. Am I the only one reading that?
I don't know. I really have no idea where this goes. This poor Knight of Galador came here to just get the thing, and they're like, "Hey, man, we got shit going on, dude." At the Hellfire Bay, the car is getting packed as now we have Cyclops, Jean, Deadpool, and Domino in the war wagon.
Mm-hmm. Nobody is speaking except for Deadpool. He's making it awkward, and I kind of love that about him.
Yeah. Hellfire, we stroll up to Esme's house, a quick stop, ask her to come with him. She's mad that
and opens the door, slaps him across the face.
Yeah. And says he just doesn't want to fight this war. He's got some stuff going on. They make out, and yeah, she's joining.
One last ride. One last ride.
Also, Hope and Rachel show up. So yeah, we got the whole crew.
Hey, did you guys know that this comic is ending in an issue, and maybe we should wrap it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed.
You can tell.
Yeah, you can kind of tell just a little bit. I think it's smoother than, some others, but you could definitely tell.
Yeah. Jean puts Deadpool to sleep. I'm not really sure why, but
I think she was just annoyed with him. I also think it's kind of funny because Deadpool is actually immune to her being able to control him psychically, and instead she's like, I use my telekinesis to cut off the blood flow to his brain. I'm not proud of it.
Yeah. Cyclops and Jean both kind of talk to each other. We're probably about to use young Cable. As we then cut to another time, another place, as Strife is doing some weird religious stuff he's got to...
Yeah.
We're about to get the sacrificing on as Old Cable looks on. He plants the tree. Strife goes to stab one, and Old Cable jumps down, calls him a filthy.
Yep, like probably right from the end of this one. So, but that's Cable.
Yeah, that's Cable.
That is Cable. I appreciate how quickly we went through it, considering I'm falling asleep.
Yeah, that's fair. I kind of figured this is a pretty... We are hitting the plot beats fast. I think for series that are getting wrapped up, I think this is a better penultimate issue than most. I actually think the quick pace kind of works for Cable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like, kept very straightforward. There's really nothing here that needs to get tied up. There are no multiple plot threads. I guess there's the Light of Galador stuff with the robots, but it's not self-important enough for us to actually have to dedicate more than the couple of panels that it gets.
Yeah. I like this book still. It's a comfy book. It is.
Yeah, it's alright.
Yeah.
I think comfy's a really good word for it, you know? I don't know where I would put it if I had to really rate it amongst all the others, but it is comfortable. It's had its funny moments. It's had its good little beats. I do like it.
Yeah. And yeah, that's going to be the issues this week. It's a little bit of a long week with Way of X, but I'm glad we got into that. It's a lot meatier compared to X Corp, in my opinion, and I think of the two series, it's the more promising one. Next time, we got our final 3 issues before we get to the Hellfire Gala with Cable.
Let's go.
Number 12 and Children of the Atom number 4 and 5.
Yes. If Children of the Atom did not have a number 6, we would be finishing 2 series right there because Cable is going to be done. And yeah, Children of the Atom is only going to have one more after next week.
Yeah.
Or next episode,
Wrapping
not next
things
week.
up.
So, but yeah, and then also next episode, we are going to be going into some of the lead up to the Hellfire Gala. At least I'm going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking about some of the outfits and everything going into that. But we are going to kick it off proper in 2 episodes with Marauders number 21, which will be very exciting.
Yeah. All right. Want to do the plugs?
Yeah, we'll wrap up this very, very long episode. So, if you have listened to this point, thank you so much for listening. If you could give us a review on your podcasting app of choice, that would be great. It helps us get out there and find others to enjoy this Krakoan journey with us. If you would like to send us an email with maybe a question, a comment, a joke, maybe something we missed, you can go ahead and send us an email at studyofx@gmail.com, and Tim might just read it here on the podcast. However, if you are looking for this podcast on social media to keep up with our reading order, or to see some of the images and pages that we post from the issues that we've read, you can find us on Blue Sky and on Tumblr. On both of those, we are Study of X, and you can give us a follow there. If you would like to follow us individually, you can find me on Blue Sky under Sonics, that is SAWNEEKS. Don't post there too much, but every now and again, I still kind of check it out. And, Tim, if they're looking for you because they are questioning the philosophy of not just the Crucible, but also that they're just letting these kids run wild everywhere, where can they find you to ask about that?
Cultivating mushroom on my...
Interesting. Are you going to offer them to the kids, or no?
I will offer them to people who are not down on their luck.
Got it. Okay, I think that is a very nice thing to do.
Yeah.
And, Sergio, if they are looking for you because there is a Knight of Galador at their door and they keep asking for you and saying you have a sword, where can they find you to direct this knight to go and find you?
I put a tarp over the war wagon and I'm just sleeping there.
Ah, okay. I bet that's a pretty safe place to sleep. I bet no one thinks to look under the war wagon.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Mm-mm. People are just like, that's a boat. Who cares?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. But don't get caught up in the Summer Wars. I've heard that is pretty bad.
It's a good Hosanna movie, actually, so...
Yeah, the Summer Wars? Yeah, I've seen that movie.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Okay, darn. I haven't seen that movie, so I can't keep up with the joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm worried about it.
Alright, everyone. We are going to finish this up and go to sleep, because we're all tired.
Uh-huh.
Alright. Later,
A little
mutants.
jet lag, too. Bye.